Rafflesia. In the deep rainforests of Southeast Asia, this plant spends most of its life completely hidden. There are no leaves, no stem, and no normal roots above the ground. For months, it exists as thin threads inside a host vine, stealing water and nutrients without looking like a plant at all. Then, almost suddenly, a huge flower pushes out from the forest floor. It can grow wider than a small tire, with thick red petals covered in pale spots. From a distance, it looks less like a flower and more like something that should belong to an animal. The strangest part is not only its size, but the way it survives. Rafflesia releases a smell similar to rotting meat, not to scare animals away, but to attract FLIs. These FLIs land on the flower thinking they have found something dead, and while moving around, they help carry pollen. The bloom lasts only a few days before it begins to collapse, so everything depends on perfect timing. It is rare, difficult to find, and impossible to grow like an ordinary garden plant. For the forest where it lives, Rafflesia is a reminder that plants do not always need leaves, beauty, or sweetness to succeed. Corpse flower. In the warm forests of Sumatra, this plant waits underground as a massive storage organ, gathering energy in silence. For years, nothing dramatic may happen above the soil. Then, a giant structure rises from the ground, taller than many people, wrapped in a deep red and green sheath. It looks like a single monster flower, but it is actually a huge flowering spike surrounded by a leaf-like cover. The central column heats up as it opens, almost like a living chimney. That warmth helps push its smell into the air, turning the whole plant into a signal that can travel through the forest. The smell is the reason it became famous. The corpse flower produces an odor similar to dead flesh, and that scent attracts carrion beetles and FLIs that normally search for rotting animals. Instead of offering nectar in the usual way, it uses deception, heat, and timing to bring insects close enough to move pollen. The bloom is rare and short-lived, often lasting only a day or two at its strongest. In botanical gardens, people line up to see it because of the event can take many years to repeat. It matters because it shows how far a plant can move away from the familiar idea of a flower and still use the same basic goal, reproduction. Hydnora. From above the ground, this plant barely looks alive until its strange flower breaks through the soil. It grows in dry parts of southern Africa and hides most of its body underground, attached to the roots of other plants. Instead of making its own food with green leaves, it takes what it needs from its host. The flower is thick, rough, and almost animal-like, with fleshy lobes that open from the earth like a mouth. Its color often blends shades of brown, orange, and pink, giving it the look of something decaying rather than blooming. That is part of what makes Hydnora feel so unnatural. Its method of pollination is even stranger than its appearance. The flower releases a strong odor that attracts beetles looking for dung or rotting material. When the beetles crawl inside, the plant can briefly trap them, holding them long enough for pollen to stick to their bodies. Later, the flower opens more fully and lets them leave, carrying that pollen to another Hydnora. This makes the plant seem almost like a trap, but it is not hunting for food. It is using smell, darkness, and timing to reproduce in a harsh environment where ordinary flowers would struggle. Hydnora matters because it shows that some plants survive by disappearing almost completely, then returning only when they need the world to notice them. Welwitschia. In the deserts of Namibia and Angola, this plant looks like a mistake left behind by another age. It has a short buried stem and only 2 leaves, but those leaves never stop growing. Over time, the wind tears them into long strips, making the plant look like a pile of dry green ribbons spread across the sand. Some individuals can live for more than 1,000 years, surviving in a place where rain may disappear for long stretches. Instead of growing tall or wide like a normal tree, it stays low to the ground, holding on against heat, wind, and drought. Its survival depends on patience more than speed. Welwitschia uses deep roots to reach hidden moisture, while its long leaves can take in water from fog that rolls in from the Atlantic coast. That fog is often more reliable than rain, turning the desert air itself into part of the plant's water supply. it also produces separate male and female cones, which makes it look partly like a desert shrub, and partly like a strange ancient relative of conifers. Giant pitcher plant. High on the slopes of Borneo, this plant turns a leaf into something that works like a natural trap. The pitcher is not a flower or a fruit, but a modified leaf shaped into a deep container. Its rim is slippery, its walls are smooth, and inside there is a pool of digestive fluid. Insects that land near the edge can lose their grip and fall in. Smaller animals may also visit the pitcher for nectar, and some species even use it almost like a strange feeding station. At first glance, it looks like a plant pretending to be a cup. The giant pitcher plant is especially unusual because of its size and appetite. Nepenthes raja can produce pitchers large enough to hold much more liquid than most carnivorous plants. Instead of relying only on pure soil, it gains extra nutrients from insects and other organic material that end up inside the trap. In its mountain habitat, nutrients can be limited, so this strategy gives the plant an advantage where ordinary roots are not enough. It feels almost animal-like, but every part is still built from plant tissue, showing how evolution can turn a simple leaf into a silent digestive chamber. Doll's eyes. In the shaded forests of eastern North America, this plant produces one of the most unsettling fruits in the plant world. Its white berries sit on thick red stalks, each one marked with a dark spot that makes it look like a tiny eye staring outward. The effect is so specific that the name feels almost too accurate. The fruit develops, it stops looking like a woodland plant and starts looking like something placed there on purpose. That strange visual design makes it unmistakable, even among far more colorful species. The disturbing appearance is also a warning. Doll's eyes, also known as white baneberry, is highly toxic, especially because of compounds that can affect the heart. Birds can eat the berries and spread the seeds, but for humans and many mammals, eating them can be dangerous. The plant does not need thorns, traps, or a bad smell to protect itself. Its defense is chemical, hidden inside fruit that looks strangely delicate. In a quiet forest, Doll's eyes proves that a plant can be bizarre without being huge, loud, or dramatic. Bat flower. In the humid forests of Southeast Asia, this plant looks as if it was designed to imitate a dark flying animal. Its flowers are deep purple to almost black, with wide wing-like bracts spreading out from the center. Beneath them hang long, thin filaments that can stretch far below the bloom, giving the plant the strange look of a bat with whiskers. The effect is not random decoration. These unusual shapes and dark colors help the flower stand out in the dim forest understory, where light is filtered through layers of leaves. What makes the bat flower especially strange is how much it breaks the normal idea of a tropical bloom. Many forest flowers look soft, colorful, and sweet, but this one feels almost gothic. Its structure may help attract specific pollinators that respond to dark surfaces, odd textures, or the sheltered environment around the flower. It grows from underground rhizomes and prefers warm, moist conditions, which makes it difficult to keep healthy outside its natural climate. In gardens and collections, people grow it mostly because it looks unreal.